From one Vancouver legend to another that probably should have been a legend. Today we're talking about two guys who have featured very heavily in the story of the Vancouver Canucks. I wanted to talk about former president of hockey operations, former captain, former leader, former top draft pick, former everything for Vancouver, Trevor Linden, because of some of the comments he had made yesterday on After Hours. And of course, we also got to talk about EP40 as well, Elias Pettersson. But starting things off, before we dive into the Elias Pettersson trade conversation, the stats and all the stuff behind him and his game, let's dive into what Trevor Linden said yesterday about his time with Vancouver. Not as a player. Oh no, we know he was a very good player. 70-point guy, a leader, point per game in the playoffs in 1994. This is what Linden said on proposing a rebuild. My vision of how things should go was different than ownership and Jim Benning. So I was the odd man out. Now, this is absolutely something that I think a lot of Canucks fans knew about. They believed this to be true for many years. And now Trevor Linden's going out there on After Hours saying, yeah, that's pretty much what happened. I wanted to do something, the ownership and Jim Benning wanted to do the other thing, and then I left. And of course, we all recognize what happened with the Vancouver Canucks after Trevor Linden ended up leaving the organization. Take a look at his team staff profile. He was the president of hockey operations for 4 seasons with the Canucks, finishing off in 2017-2018. He wanted to go through a rebuild. Ownership and Benning, they were like, nah, we can stay competitive, man. We got the Sedins, which they didn't really have for that long because they retired at the end of 17-18. But we got Louis Eriksson. We've got these guys. We've got Brandon Sutter. We've got Jay Beagle. Oh, we just traded for JT Miller. How amazing. Let's trade for Oliver Ekman-Larsson too. Let's trade away the draft pick that was going to become Dylan Genther and get Connor Garland and OEL, a contract that was so bad, we're going to have to buy it out in a few years. Trevor Linden wanted to avoid all that. He wanted to go down a younger, more future-driven path. But we all recognize how that went down. Ownership wanted the now. Jim Benning was a yes man. Whatever it was that Francesco wanted for his team, Jim Benning would say, yep, I'm on it, boss. Let's make that trade for Oliver Ekman-Larsson. Let's trade away 1 year remaining of Beagle, Eriksson, and Roussel for the next however many years of OEL. And then we recognized that the team just was not that good, and OEL was rushed back from injury, and that's why he's been super effective in the later days with Florida and Toronto, but he was not nearly as effective as a Canuck. Speaking about injuries, and speaking about guys who have performed better outside of Vancouver than with, let's talk about the future of Elias Pettersson here. Because yesterday, against the Seattle Kraken, Elias Pettersson had 3 shots on goal in 18 minutes of time on ice, and he had 0 goals. In fact, if you exclude the Olympic Games, where Pettersson had 2 goals against Slovakia, he hasn't scored a goal since January 13th, 2026. It's been 2 months since Elias Pettersson has scored in the NHL. This tweet from Jeff Patterson pretty much sums it up here. EP40 has now gone 20 games without a goal. The Canucks have scored 45 times since he has last scored on January 13th in Ottawa. Now, for what it's worth, Chris Kant went out there and said this: the problem isn't just that EP40 isn't scoring, it's that he's barely shooting. His shot volume has basically been cut in half since his 102-point season. His average shots per game back in 22-23, with 39 goals, was 3.2 per game. 23-24 saw him get 2.5 shots per game, then 1.7, and now this season it's at 1.8. He has been shooting the puck very infrequently compared to before. How many grade A chances has he had? Well, Natural Stat Trick has Pettersson with 15 individual high-danger chances in all situations, and an expected goals for of 4.19 over the span dating back to January 13th. So Pettersson, if you take a look at the quality of the chances that he has gotten, the pucks he has thrown on net, the advanced analytics and the websites that have all the fancy stats, they say that Pettersson should have scored 4-point-something goals in that span. He's got 0. Now, when you think about the idea of Pettersson moving on and where he could potentially go next, take a look at what Chris Johnston went out there and said on the Insider Show last week. It always made sense to me to trade Pettersson in the summer, just because you would bring more teams into the picture that can at least consider that, versus in season, with the salary cap in place. Now, we all recognize Elias Pettersson is making $11.6 million a year, which is why this report from Irfan Ghaffar, later on in the week, also goes out there and establishes the Canucks do not have a willingness to retain any money on 11.6. There are some folks saying, hey, if they don't retain, he is not going anywhere. Another reply says the Canucks will never be able to trade Pettersson unless they eat 60% of his salary for that duration. Certainly, the $11.6 million a year is an obstacle. But, as we have noted in the past, with the cap going up, 11.6 may not seem like the absolute worst deal in the world anymore, especially when you look at some of the other wingers that are going to go for a lot, like, hey, if Alex Tuch gets 12, maybe Pettersson making 11.6 isn't the worst. Like, obviously, Tuch is a more effective scorer, but PD 11.6 today versus PD 11.6 a year and a half ago doesn't seem as bad. Now, speaking about that Mr. 11.6, Elias Pettersson, there's still a pretty interesting stat about him and his career that I wanted to talk about. It was posted about here on the R Canucks subreddit. Look at this post made by Ty Diggity from yesterday. Elias Pettersson is still the point leader for the 2017 NHL Draft year. And that is absolutely the case. If you go over to 2017 players, PD is the number one guy in points with 495. The only problem is the guy who's number 2, Cale Makar, has 1 fewer point. And he's also done it in, 69 fewer games played? So we all recognize that Cale is going to overtake PD at some point. It's not going to take long for Cale Makar to get 2 points and overtake him. But there was a really interesting conversation on the subreddit that I thought was illuminating here. Tiger23 says that Elias Pettersson was on his way to a Hall of Fame career until that knee injury. I really hope that one day his skating and speed can come back. I'll never forgive the organization, Tocchet, Rutherford, Alvin, for how they treated him and lied about him. Oh, they 100% set him back on getting his game back, too. Also, having a mediocre medical staff that hasn't helped him or the other players. Can you all elaborate? Is that what they kept saying, that Pettersson was 100% and he wasn't? Yeah, management clearly lied about that. He needs to move his feet. Yeah, so a hockey player who puts up over 100 points a year, and then the next year is on pace for another 100-point season until midway where he says he has a knee injury, and then the coach says he has knee tendonitis, does not forget how to skate. I just don't get how people fall for that line. Move his feet. Yeah, because he wants to be bad? Move his feet. Because he forgot how to skate? Move his feet because he has the yips? Like, come on, it's such BS. The team lied, the media ate it up. Garbage franchise. Now, we're not going to necessarily discredit all the things that have happened in the past, but at the same time, I do think it's a very fair idea to mention that, yeah, the way Vancouver people were talking about Pettersson may not have just been true. And I think it's forever tainted the way this guy will be viewed in Vancouver. He is not going to have that reputation that one Trevor Linden had once upon a time. So even with the conversations about rebuilds being put into place, we still have extra conversations to have about a Pettersson trade, wherever he gets sent to, whether or not he's able to regain his form, whether or not a better coaching and medical staff can bring the best out of him like he once displayed in Vancouver. Is it possible? I don't know. But you can let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Do you think this is going to happen elsewhere? And how do you feel about Trevor Linden speaking about this on After Hours that he wanted to rebuild, but the guys up top said no. Thoughts in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.